Hello, everybody. My name is Greg Osuri. I'm the CEO for Overclock Labs and the founder for Akash Network. I'll let you all settle down a little bit. We can begin. This is a 15-minute talk, so I was told that we have a 15-minute slot. So, I think we'll have quite a lot of time for Q&A. So I want to keep it interactive. Right. To begin, my background, a little bit about me. I've been a hacker all my life, for most of my life, at least. I've written some code that got some prominence in the Kubernetes ecosystem. As you can see, some of the libraries I've written have been trending top 10 in the Golang, Golang category on GitHub, a little above Go language itself. Only human being on this list. And number 13 across different languages. This is the same code that went into building Akash, and going to give you a little introduction about the problem space we're solving, and then hopefully give you a demo. And I'm very confident the demo will not fail. Some of the libraries, some of the companies that use our libraries that we built for Akash today includes NVIDIA. NVIDIA Kubernetes driver. In fact, if you've deployed any AI workload on NVIDIA chips using Kubernetes, you probably used Akash indirectly. Some other companies include HashiCorp. In fact, HashiCorp is the company that built Terraform, a very popular cloud orchestration tool. U.S. Department of Defense, to a whole lot of companies, use Akash's code, and this technology is phenomenal. So, some time ago, last year in October, there was this article in Semaphore, which is a mainstream magazine, talking about how the AI boom created a chip shortage, and how this weird little friendship between crypto and AI is booming. This is the first time an article that's positive about crypto has been written since the FTX debacle. And I'm glad to share that it's been about DePIN and how crypto is actually solving AI's crisis right now. This article goes into a little, in depth, and this talk is about what this article really means. It talks about a student on Cornell, AI student, trying to do a model, training on a model using A100s, and unable to get access to the A100s. A100s are one of the most advanced chips made by NVIDIA. But he could go find this weird little crypto network called Akash Network, and actually able to rent A100s for a little over $1 and actually do the work. And this story goes into why and how this crypto is actually solving AI's problem. Why that is GPUs today are nearly impossible to lease on demand. On demand in the sense, use for however long you need. And the reason for that is, typically as a startup or as all of us are used to going to Amazon Web Services or Google to get our chips. But if you try and go to Amazon today and try to rent a chip, it's impossible to get on demand. You have to get into a long contract before they can even talk to you. It's almost like going to going to buy a luxury car or a luxury watch, where in order to even get to the top models, you need to buy like a basic model and then work your way up. That's how the chip industry is today. That's why you see a lot of companies actually shutting down, because they can't get access to the A100s or H100s that you need to do your AI. And options are extremely limited today. So if you try to get a chip directly from NVIDIA, you got to wait at least 2 years. And NVIDIA is extremely selective on who they want to give the chips to directly. So the only other way is to go through the supply chain, and that is extremely constrained as well. So forget the big cloud providers. How about the smaller ones like Lambdas or CoreWeaves of the world? Well, in order to get chips from them, you need to get into long-term contracts. You need to get into a minimum 1 year to 2 year contract, and you got to pay upfront the money, and then wait 3 to 6 months by the time you even see the chip, right? So imagine doing that for a startup company, and this high initial cost deter new players, right? Because in a startup, your biggest And the most valuable resource is your time and iteration speed. So by doing a fixed setup and paying up front to get the chips, you're effectively locking yourself into using the chips. And the rate at which the AI models are evolving is so rapid that if you cannot iterate, you will most likely fail. We've seen several failures for AI companies. A big one would be Banana Dev that shut down doors famously because they could not get A100s and H100s. Incredibly usable platform, but sadly, the resources, computational resources, are the biggest constraint today for machine learning companies, right? On the other hand, there are free GPUs everywhere. If you look at GPUs from crypto miners, and crypto miners famously were, causing shortage in GPU, chipsets in 2021, 22 timeframe, and migrated away now because of because ETH migrated away from proof of work. So there's enormous amounts of chips actually available right now for free in crypto miners, and you see. Also, when companies upgrade their chipsets, like when OpenAI, famously trained their, GPT 2.5 or whatnot on V100s and the newer versions on A100s and H100s, so on and so forth. The older models are available essentially for leasing, right? So there's a whole supply chain that buys up these older models and just sit idle. They're not going to the cloud providers or any of the typical distribution points we see, but they're actually sitting in warehouses and not being used, right? And a lot of ML companies also have a downtime during training cycles. So if you train a model, you're not going to immediately train the next version. You're going to sit and take advantage of what you trained and maybe use inference and whatnot or fine tuning. For those models that you just trained, and there's a lot of time between your training runs that usually sit on enormous amounts of GPUs that you're not using. So there's a lot of chips available. That's where Akash really comes into play. Akash is a radical way of sharing computational resources. We wrote a paper in 2018 describing what a Akash network would look like, and we actually talked about GPUs in 2018, but nobody really paid attention to the GPU shortage then. But it's very obvious now, seeing the success of ChatGPT. The way it really works is it begins with a tenant, the user, containerizing the application in the sense, take your application, including its dependencies, and package in something called a Docker container, and create a file called SDL, or stack definition language, where you describe your computational needs, your workload configuration, your locations, and more importantly, pricing, how much you're willing to pay to run this workload per block, and place that order, create a buy order on the blockchain. This is a Cosmos SDK blockchain, and the buy order is essentially goes into a ledger and into an order book. And providers that can satisfy the order at the price that you you set, bid on it in real time. And you, as a user, the tenant, eventually select the provider that you want to deploy on. A lease gets created, and then the relationships becomes peer-to-peer. So blockchain here is used for coordination and settlement, whereas computation, the actual execution happens off-chain with a peer-to-peer relation between you and the provider. So it is a lightweight usage of blockchain, and you get the same performance benefits that you typically get with a traditional provider on Akash. And the obvious immediate benefit is on-demand access, right? On-demand and really cost-optimized access. You can see H100s here. I mean, the price varies based on providers. The mid price is somewhere around $1.40 now on H100s, which is one of the lowest prices you can ever get for H100, and also you can get A100s for 80 cents and so on and so forth. You can go to akash.network/GPUs right now for real-time pricing, and it's actually incredible. It is permissionless and peer-to-peer. This is the only permissionless cloud, truly permissionless, where you as a user or as a provider require no permission to use a network, and it's peer-to-peer makes it extremely scalable, right? So Akash, in 4 years of existence, never went down a single time and never fails. I have such confidence to go live demos in most of the talks I give at conferences, and it never goes down, right? And that kind of reliability speaks volumes. And that comes through because of the peer-to-peer design and a decentralized control plane that we leverage. It's radically open source. Every aspect of Akash is open source. There is no closed source repo on the Akash network GitHub. The way it works, you can scan the link to get to the community repo on GitHub, and you'll see the activity in terms of how people engage and whatnot. The way it works is there are a bunch of self-governing models, groups, categorized into special interest groups and working groups and user groups. This is remotely modeled after Kubernetes and seeing success with several other open source projects. The special interest groups are in charge of each part of the chain. They meet regularly, and every aspect of the meeting is posted on chain, including the recording and transcribed version of the meeting, as well as summarized versions. So in case you miss the meeting, you can actually get to know what's happening. And there are working groups that are ephemeral in nature, so you create a working group for a special project or whatnot, and this is more actively collaborative. And there are user groups where users that want individual features can actually go propose to the chain. Anyone can apply. Anyone can create a group on Akash. There are about 500 contributors in the Akash network that have contributed to the development of Akash. There have been, and there is an on-chain fund called the Public Goods Fund, or the community pool, we see it, that's responsible for funding every activity. Using this model, we're able to attract incredible talent. In fact, a lot of university professors from University of Texas to MIT to University of Illinois, there are several professors now actually making proposals to get grants directly from the community pool. Recent example, including Sriram Vishwanathan, who's a UT professor, made a proposal to for verifiable hardware on Akash as a precursor to enable on-chain rewards, right? So we get incredible talent that you can't normally get using this model, and a lot of these professors want open source software so that they can freely publish their work in publications. And also, you start seeing a lot of published papers now, include Akash or cite Akash as part of the research work, and they think it's a phenomenal way to engage with these professors or researchers, right? Growing ecosystem Akash now is the de facto standard for decentralized AI. You'll see projects like Venice AI, which is co-founded by Eric Voorhees. Eric Voorhees is a crypto OG. He's famously known for his time where his company was responsible for 40% of Bitcoin transactions, I believe, in 2012. And him embracing Akash as the de facto layer for Venice AI, which is a privacy-optimized, censorship-resistant AI chat service. It's a beautiful experience. If you really want to see the power of AI of Akash, you should go to Venice.ai right now in your phones and actually type a query or a prompt. It requires no login or no passwords, none of that stuff, and you can see how snappy and how fast Akash responds, right? News Research, which is a very popular AI team, I believe they train a model called Hermes, which is a very popular model. In fact, Venice uses News Hermes to deliver the results. I think it's one of the top 25 models on Hugging Face. And founded by Technium, who's the chief scientist at Stability AI, that develops Stable Diffusion. Them actually training the next model of Hermes on Akash, right? So Akash is also incredible training, not only inference and fine-tuning. Training is computationally intensive. Because of Akash's model of granular selection, a lot of these companies would be able to leverage H100s with the configuration that they want on Akash, right? So you have obviously another non-crypto project is Brev. I mean, News is not crypto. It's a mainstream, AI company. Brev as well. Brev is not a crypto company. Brev.dev. Another way to use Akash, if you actually don't want to use crypto or don't want to pay using crypto, you can go to Brev.dev. Brev.dev is considered to be the Firebase of AI. It's extremely easy to use. In fact, NVIDIA uses Brev, and using Brev, NVIDIA actually posts about Akash on their Twitter account. If you go to NVIDIA's AI Twitter, you'll see quite a lot of Akash content or links to Akash directly from there. Whoops. So, and you see quite a lot of Morpheus and other incredible project that's getting quite a lot of attention these days in crypto. Neural Thumper, in fact, is the first model to be trained completely on AI on Akash using 24,000 A100 hours. You see incredible examples today. It's beautiful when you see this work, right? From a provider standpoint, we actually have a company called Foundry. Foundry is owned by DCG, or Digital Currency Group, which owns Grayscale. They actually provide A100s to Akash Network. They are one of the biggest Bitcoin miners and former ETH miners, and now repurposing a lot of the compute to actually provide Akash. Right? So you see quite a lot of these like real examples, real life thesis actually playing out really well on Akash today. So far, we served about 58 million gigabyte hours. This is a way to measure Akash's progress. Gigabyte hours are of memory being one of the most scarce resource in cloud today. So we're very proud of this achievement. As you can see, our last quarter Q1 really took off quite a lot for Akash. We introduced GPUs in Q4, and Q1 really saw a big uptick. You can see an exponential growth there. That also coincides with leases we created. Each application that is deployed on Akash is called a lease. So far, we created about 186,000 leases. That also coincides with the actual memory that's deployed on Akash, right? So you can see our Q1, we saw incredible daily average leases up to like 1,500 daily active applications deployed on Akash, right? Now it's time for demo. So to use Akash, there's several ways you can go. You can go to akash.network/GPUs. I need 2 hands for this. You can see the real-time pricing here. Like I told, H100s are $1.46. I can click here, rent now, directly, and I can literally rent an H100. But I also have a pre-configured template because I'm not going to type here. It just takes a little time. Deploy, build your template, upload my SDL file. SDL is the stack definition language I was talking about. Here I specify the container, which is Ollama. Ollama is a inference router that you can easily deploy, and you can get any model that you want, or llamas or mistrals of the world. I'm saying I want this port open, and I want to run bash. In bash, I want to run Ollama serve, and pull this model called Mistral, which is a very popular open source model. And I need 1 GPU. Any NVIDIA GPU works for me. One unit of CPU and 16 gigs of memory and 50 gigs of hardware or hard disk, right? And I'm willing to pay about 100,000 UAKT, which is a micro AKT. And that's the unit here. And there's also a visual builder that makes it easy for you to configure. Create deployment. It asks me to deposit a little money into the escrow account. Click continue. Waiting, I confirm the transaction. This is a very familiar transaction, a user interface. If you use Kepler for Cosmos, and Akash is the other Cosmos chain that nobody talks about, but probably has the most product market fit. We are not NFTs or DeFis, or liquid restaking, or whatever that is. So you can see the transaction here. It takes about 6 seconds to finalize. And there you go. I got some bids back from providers, right? So you can see a bunch of providers giving me all kinds of different options because it said, give me any GPU. I can go very specific if I want a certain GPU, but just to demonstrate here, I showed you, showing you what kind of GPUs you get. There are a bunch of H100s differently priced. I'm kind of similar here. A100s are really good for inference, so I'm going to select an A100. $570 a month. It comes down to roughly about 80 cents an hour, which is probably one of the lowest you can get. So I select this A100, and I accept. I also talked about Foundry, right? Foundry staking, which is giving me V100. Foundry is a DCG company that I mentioned earlier. You can see a V100 here as well. Click accept bid and approve. While this is happening, you can see the transaction. Oops, transaction not found. Let's see. Maybe put this in mint scan. As you can see here, the stuff that gets shared on chain is not private data. It's only the resource data. So how much memory, GPUs, and whatnot, it is posted on chain. And there you go. So the deployment's happening. There are events that basically says I'm pulling this container here. I can check the logs. Now it's pulling the weights. Weights are the data for the model. And as soon as this reaches 100%, I should be able to, prompt the model or infer the model. And I'll show you that in a second here. Let's prepare this and click on this here. It shows that my Olama is running. I'll copy this URL and paste it on my curl to show you what's happening. As you can see, it's the same port, same URL here. So as soon as this is done, I will run this model. There you go. So this downloaded the weights, and I'm asking it what is Akash network and why is decentralized computing important. Right? Let's see what the AI thinks. Takes a second. Has a cold start problem. It's just warming up a little bit. There you go. So it says, Akash Network is a decentralized cloud platform that enables anyone to rent out their unused compute resources such as spare CPU cycle storage, bandwidth. It says decentralization enhances security in a centralized system. So it goes on, goes on, goes on. So here you go. I was able to deploy from scratch an AI model that I can use in about 3 minutes. This is the fastest you can do on any cloud, be it centralized or decentralized. And the best part, it's all permissionless. It's open source. And I paid 80 cents an hour. So we have some time now. So what do you want me to ask it? Let's play around a little bit. I will. How about this? Best prompt gets you 50 AKT. Get creative. Anyone?
Let's ask maybe what's the best way to do BD for the Cosmos ecosystem.
What is the best way
to do BD for the Cosmos ecosystem and to get Akash to like.
I'm sorry, what?
To do BD for the Cosmos ecosystem. Yeah, business development.
Okay.
Let's see.
Are you a BD guy? Sound like it.
Because if we have.
What is the best way to do?
Or to market Akash, maybe. The best way to market Akash.
Market Akash network. What is the best way to market Akash network? Let's see what it says. Marketing Akash network effectively involves a combination of strategies that cater to both technical and non-technical audience. Here are some steps you could consider. Understand your audience. Identify who target audience is. This could be blockchain enthusiasts, developers, maintain an active, informative website. So there you go.
Amazing.
It answers your question. I think it's generic, like every marketer. Any other questions we should ask the AI?
Who are the competitors of Akash and who is the best?
I don't think it's trained for the latest, but let's find out. Oh, wow. Okay. Akash Network, decentralized cloud built using Cosmos SDK, has several potential competitors in blockchain and cloud computing industries. Here are some of them. Golem Network, open source global federal supercomputer accessible to anyone, allows users to aim to unused computing power, yada, yada, yada. Filecoin, a decentralized storage network, yada, yada, yada. Storj, a decentralized cloud, Insaya Coin. It also says, Cycoin. It also says helium, a wireless network for internet. I think it goes on, goes on, goes on. It starts with computing, it goes to storage, then it goes to DePIN. It's pretty good, actually. I mean, for AI that's trained a while back.
We see on the marketplace that the different provider has run times, like 100%, 90%. Do they have a commitment to provide a certain level of SLA beside what is written? And another question, is there any incentives like slashing or anything in order to be sure to have like the good level of SLA?
Yes. So the question is, are there any SLA guarantees for providers in Akash? And is there any slashing for providers, right? So yes, there are no guarantees because I think SLRs are just not really real. In real life, you actually have SLAs, there is no indemnity. Akash doesn't give you guarantees, but it gives you a lot of information for you to make a decision. Like, so here you can see 100% uptime on some of the providers. And you can see some of the providers have not exactly great uptime. So when you choose a provider, you're supposed to select the provider that have high uptime. You can even automate that, as a matter of fact. So you can see some of them are like 97%, but they also serve some workloads here. We do have a new mechanism to do reservations. Akash is spot only in the sense you get the compute and you lose the compute when when the provider wants to reclaim the resources. But we are now in the process of doing long-term leases. You can do 1 year, 2 year leases. That's one of the most requested features that we want. There is no enforcement, unfortunately, to do. I mean, there is some slashing. Of course, there is some. The providers are required to post some deposit to bid, so the deposit goes away and the escrow doesn't get paid and whatnot. But there's really no way to enforce SLAs, right, on crypto. We do also have new verified hardware that's coming very soon using TEE, so you get some degree of confidence. But there's also a decentralized set of auditors that actually go audit these providers and post the results. So it's really a reputation-based system more than a SLA-based system that's enforceable.
Okay, thank you. And if a company has like very sensitive application that need like 9.39 availability, can they have not a guarantee but some confirmation that it will be met in order to see a future where this can be a standard and no more centralized cloud provider, and see if like a very sensitive application can leverage?
So yeah, there are sensitive applications right now on Akash. I mean, there's actually a company called Solve.care that's actually hosting healthcare data. So Akash, like I said, has a decentralized set of auditors that go and audit some of the compliance requirements some of these companies might have. So if you are hosting healthcare data, you're required in the US to comply with something called HIPAA, right? Or SOC 2 if you're a public company, right? So there's no way to verify these compliance on chain because the reports are really off-chain, reports. So there's a human auditors that go and audit and verify these compliance and verify the identity of a provider and post. When a provider says I'm who I am, they actually go verify this identity and post that result on chain. So you as a user can trust the auditor and thereby get a web of trust mechanism. There is unfortunately no cryptographic way to do this because this is a maybe we're going to go there sometime with ZK, but the promise is not there yet, right? So you get an option. It's auditing is not a requirement; it's an option, right? For some, like machine learning workloads, there's no privacy requirements. At least the way privacy is done in machine learning is using federated learning, where you actually bring the compute to you instead of the compute going to instead of data going to the compute. But for the most part, you don't really have privacy requirements for machine learning, right? Whereas healthcare and stuff like that, you do. So that comes through identifiable providers through auditing with indemnity protection. That means you can go sue who you need to sue in case there is a data breach.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi. How do you achieve persistence with Akash? How can you have persistent storage, basically?
So the question is, how can you have persistent storage on Akash? So Akash Akash offers you persistent storage. That means you can attach network storage, so you get unbounded amount of storage, and that's key for data-heavy applications, especially machine learning, right? But the persistence is only across restarts, in the sense like if your application, for some reason blows up, goes beyond your memory limits or your CPU limits, applications sometimes restart, right? When that happens, you don't lose your data. It's still persistent. And it's persistent as long as your lease is active. So once your lease is terminated for whatever reason, your persistence goes away. So you're required to back up your data into a more long-term storage solution, be it Filecoin or RV or whatnot. So yes, you get persistence with network storage, but the lifecycle terminates at the lease termination, and then you back it up. So a lot of people use Filecoin and Akash together as a good way to get full stack solution. And that's what we believe in. We don't believe in building protocols. I believe should be lightweight and should only do what they're supposed to do instead of doing everything. So the ideal world in Web3, we want protocols to be built upon each other to achieve the broader goal. So Akash and Filecoin are a good way to use, and it's also Jackal now in Cosmos ecosystem that's a lot more interoperable. So we're looking into ideally. Now the experience is not great because you need Filecoin tokens and Phil tokens as well as Akash tokens, which is not the best, but ideally with IBC, we'll be able to integrate further. And now on Akash's roadmap, we have something called managed services, just like how you would go to Amazon and get S3 or SQL or the Elastic databases or caches or load balancers and whatnot. Right now on Akash, you have to do everything yourself. It's self-hosted, so which is great, gives you all the power, but still not great because you still have to self-manage, right? You don't necessarily want to run an object store in Akash that's self-managed, which is it's painful. So we will make orchestration much simpler with interoperability, especially for payments. And when that happens, you can have seamless storage into a Jackal or a Filecoin or whatever IBC-enabled chain that is DePIN, that offers computational resources. Another question?
So my question is about gaming. What do you provide for low latency task like cloud gaming, for example?
Right. So how does gaming work? So low latency in the sense the distance between the device and the server, that's called latency, the network distance, not the actual physical distance, right? So Akash gives you pretty good coverage in the West, especially in the US and Europe. Unfortunately, we don't have any South American or African regions. So if you have a game, a cloud gaming service that's running on Akash in the US, I think you have pretty good coverage, way more than Amazon's in the clouds of the world. But when we start doing block rewards, we'll start incentivizing, the way it starts is really to incentivize the properties that you want. And if there are a lot of gaming companies looking to host games, cloud gaming, especially using GPU rendering on the cloud, you can create a configuration pool that says, hey, we want a server in California, in LA or New York or all the cities where you have most users. You can actually create a pool just like Osmosis pool, an incentivized pool to attract that particular compute. And so that way like Helium did it pretty well with network coverage, right? So that way we can actually get the low latency network. So right now most of our focus is AI, and AI is not latency sensitive because the prompt latency is large enough that the network latency doesn't really play big of a role. But for cloud gaming, latency becomes a huge issue. So when that happens, the rewards will be able to fulfill that latency. It's not, there's no limitation right now. You can actually get anywhere, the servers, right? We're also doing quite a lot in Africa. There are autonomous regions in Africa that don't have connectivity, that don't have physical connectivity, but they're using Starlink to create remote data centers and using solar-powered, sites to have remote data centers that are doing AI. So and these AIs are being trained in local languages to teach kids, help with their education, help with medical diagnosis, and a lot of really critical services now being rendered in local autonomous regions. And we're looking to connect a lot of those data centers to Akash network, right? So we should be able to see a lot more coverage on Akash network in Africa as well. And it's a great use for AI because it's serving local communities, it's actually earning income, when the local communities are not there using AI, and also gives us incredible coverage in terms of global reach. So it's going to be a lot more cool stuff, and that's something we want to incentivize using block rewards, right? A question there?
Hi. So I guess it's an issue to have a wallet and to have Akati tokens maybe for UX.
Yeah.
You maybe mentioned Brave before, or do you have any kind of strategies to overcome that friction to attract new users that may not be crypto native?
Yeah, good question. A big challenge for Akash right now is actually using crypto, right? So most non-crypto folks don't really care about crypto, and in fact, they actually don't know that there is, you can see here, Akash, there is, most of them don't know what a wallet is, don't know what a gas fees is, don't know where to get AKT tokens. So our activation rate is extremely low when we get a non-crypto user coming to console Akash, actually configuring the workload, and when they have to deploy, click the button to deploy and present to the wallet, right? Or install the Kepler requirement. You see, in most products, the plug-in install comes way later in the product cycle. It doesn't mandate somebody to install a plugin to use a product, because inherently plugins are not extremely safe, especially coming from a weird crypto company called Kepler. Nobody knows Kepler outside, Cosmos, let alone outside crypto, right? So it's a big ask. Our conversion rate is extremely poor, and we suffer quite a lot. We lose a lot of users there. And second problem we have is getting AKT, right? So AKT is available widely now, Coinbase and all major exchanges, but and most of our users tend to be US users. But getting AKT also means going through a KYC process, and once you complete that, you cannot use your business credit card, which most people use to pay their cloud bills, because nobody uses their personal cards, because that goes to their personal accounts, right? You cannot use business credit cards to pay for Akash, and that really is bad experience, right? So we are introducing a new feature that's coming out very soon called trial wallets. I think this is an incredible innovation in user experience. The way it works is every user that comes to console Akash gets a wallet created in browser that's only accessible to them, to that browser alone, right? And it has about $10 worth of AKT they can only use for deploying, not anything else. And the way that works is using Auth0. Auth0 is a feature in Cosmos chains where a remote wallet can authorize a different wallet to spend on the behalf. So that way, a Overclock Labs control wallet can give you, the newly created wallet, $10 worth of AKT only to deploy, so you can't spend or stake. So there's no abuse there. And there's also a new capability called fee grant, which essentially allows another wallet to grant you fees, crypto fees, the AKT gas fees, to deploy on your behalf. So this way, your wallet is set up, your AKT is ready to go, and all you need to do is click, 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 and deploy, right? So most of them want a PyTorch, which is a Python all-encompassing great tool for deploying. In fact, let me show you what a PyTorch looks like. There's also another way. You can actually go here to brev.dev and click, deploy on Akash. I don't know if you can see this, but it kind of shows a little bit on Akash here. This is actually running on Akash, right? Of course, they charge a little extra because they want to make money. But we have real businesses building on top of Akash, which is cool to see, right? This is going to take a second, about 3. Well, I don't think it's working. This company got acquired recently, so I think all of them are taking a vacation. Now, let's see. Let's see. They got acquired because of Akash, which is also very cool. Because they could offer all this. And the acquirer, we can't obviously disclose, but you'll find out who they are in a couple of weeks, and it's a very exciting time for Akash. But I do know that team is all in vacation right now, and I think they're errors, and they don't really care now because they got acquired. Okay, there's some error here. You can also go to primeintellect. Sorry, how are we doing in time? Okay. Oh, okay. So anyway, trial walls are awesome. We'll release a feature very soon, and thank you so much.
All right, thanks.